welcome to the JayandDreshow. I'm your host, Dre.
And I'm your boy, Jake. And today, man, we got a dynamic topic, something we've been speaking about in person for a while, and that's the prison labor issue. Some people feel that this is akin to slavery or something like indentured servitude, and that really is not morally correct. So today we're going to discuss that and our feelings on each. I'm going to let Dre start it off.
To begin with, I feel that labor in the prison system is something that really should be limited to certain circumstances and cases. And primarily the reason for that is I don't believe that not only is it morally incorrect, but also if you have somebody who can labor and basically certain laws don't apply to them, basically you've created an incentive to use said labor force. And I really do feel that, for one, the prison system really should be about reforming people and inmates, because I believe the vast majority of the people in there, excluding certain offenders, are people that could easily be rehabilitated and put it back into society and become productive members that, once again, pay taxes, pay into systems, and help the greater good of everyone.
I don't know, man. This subject is kind of hard because as a person who worked in a prison, I can see the benefits of it, and I can also see why people have a problem with it. I like what you said about you feel that should be limited. I know maybe it should be limited to state jobs that help the state function. And that's also touchy because you can kind of go to what the sheriff said. I forgot, I think from Louisiana. Maybe it was Texas, about the inmates washing his cars, this and that. But I do think they should pay for their work. But things like in SCDC, you have the dairy farm, you have the license plates manufacturing. Because basically, when you commit a crime, you commit a crime against society. So part of the prison system is for corrections, to correct that behavior and to provide you with a better chance not to repeat that behavior. But also, you have to repay your debt to society. So in certain aspects, I agree with having inmates or people in prison do certain type of jobs as a repayment to their debt to society. But with all things, man, you get to a point where you're allowing room for corruption. And I think that's what most people are scared of, because a lot of times the corruption supersedes the good deeds.
And what I'm mainly talking about is I'm not so much sure if this is done at a state level or even if it's done in federal penitentiaries, but I know that there are certain companies that employ prison labor, and that basically they have certain arrangements where either certain materials and work is being done in the prisons, or in certain circumstances they'll bus inmates to a location to perform whatever task they need them to do. And in a lot of instances, I've known some guys that have gone through the correctional system before, and they've told me things like, they've busted their butt for 8 hours a day and only got 90 cents for it, which, 90 cents a day, I don't even think I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
I can't even fathom that, man.
Yeah. If you're fair, I would have a problem with that because they do not owe a debt to that private company. That definitely would be a no-no in from my standpoint, unless they owe like restitution or something to a specific company. But I think when you have privatized prisons, once again, man, you are opening the door for advanced corruption. You can't have private people. Why would you want to privatize a prison in the first place? I mean, because if a company is going to, and from that aspect, it is indentured servitude or slavery. I won't say slavery because they do get paid, even no matter how meek it is certain pay. It's basically, it's bad because my incentive for taking over the responsibilities of watching these inmates, taking over responsibilities of paying correctional officers for to make sure nothing goes wrong inside the jail, paying for the medical needs, this and that. I have to have a financial incentive for me to want to privatize the prison industry. So these companies that are doing that, they're using labor as a way to make their bottom line go up. Nobody wants to lose money, so they're making money. I'm familiar with them. I'm not overly familiar with the privatized prison. I never worked at one, but I know that they have to be making money, or I would be no incentive to own a prison. And I don't think that's right. Yeah, I really don't.
And not only that, but I feel that private prisons, in a lot of instances, lead to over-policing, over-prosecution. And basically, when you have a private prison in the correctional process, you really are incentivizing a man's subjugation for the profit of another man or another business entity, which I really have a huge problem with, and it sounds like you do as well.
Yeah, that's
and when I said earlier that I feel that prison labor should be limited, what I was really getting at was I understand that people, like you said, there's a debt to be paid to society and things such as that, and I'm not against someone working or even working to develop certain skills that may be even a benefit to them once they get out. But I definitely am against the exploitation of it.
Cut it right there. That's a good point to cut it. Yeah, man, I see what you're saying. Basically, I think we're on the same page. I think what we're saying is what it started off to be used for prison labor. It's not wrong. Doing certain jobs that will benefit the state, that will help the individual repay his debt to society. But I think we both agree that we are wholeheartedly against the privatization of it. When I think about it, it's kind of funny because it didn't really click to me until we started shooting. It's relatively absurd, man.
Yeah.
So basically, for a state, it is. It's kind of, that's too much.
And I'll be honest, because before we started talking on camera, it's kind of crazy because we debated so fervently back and forth with this.
Yeah, I'm kind of agree.
And it does seem that that we agree a lot more than we disagree on this, and that we really do have a consensus around the private prisons and what they do to the inmate population. So, you do have a unique perspective, having worked at least in a state facility. In what ways do you feel that prison labor could benefit an inmate?
Like you said, teaching them skills. You have PI, and you also, like, for example, Perry is a correctional institution in South Carolina. They have a PI.
Yeah.
I forgot what exactly they do up there. Maybe it's cars, but anyway, they have a private industry on the prison yard. Those guys make maybe minimum wage, maybe $8 an hour. But basically, Perry is a level 3 yard. That means that the majority of the inmates have 15 years to life to do. So you're providing an avenue for some guys who are never going to see the light of day again, or who are not going to get out, who maybe in their 20s and 30s won't come out until they're in their 60s and 70s. You're providing them with the avenue to still support their family financially. And I'm for that. I'm all for it. Because at the end of the day, the governing of it, the wages and stuff, once again, the state makes money off of that because they pull from the wages of the people, but it's separation of powers in a way. But when you have the company overseeing the prison, where the company says who the warden is, they says who comes there, who works there, how much the people get paid, then it's no checks and balances. And that's a problem. That is very akin to slavery. It really is. And actually, when you look at it, the state, because prisoners are still citizens.
Yes.
So we look at it from a certain aspect, the state are selling their citizens to a company. And that's it's bad stuff, man.
Of course. So, I remember one time a while back, you actually you actually talked to me about this. You said that you were in a prison where there was guys that basically they had a served sentences to life.
Yeah.
And you talked about how difficult it was trying to deal with some of those guys sometimes when they got unruly, because what may work with a guy who had 5 years.
Yeah, it's not gonna work with them.
So let me ask you this: Is it a similar situation in regards to labor, where, like, say for instance, maybe the guys who are lifers, perhaps you think maybe they should be, I hate to say like free game, but
Well, no, I'm gonna say free game. The thing about lifers, and I'm gonna jump back into the economics of prison labor, but the thing about lifers, there's 2 of them. You got to, especially like a young guy who got a bunch of years, he's incorrigible. So like he doesn't care. He'll fight you, spit on you, whatever you got to do. He doesn't care. He's 19, 20. He just got a life sentence. He's gonna be in prison next 50 years. He doesn't care. But then you have the other lifers who's 30 and 40, who might have had a kid, who might have didn't, but they have family members that's alive. Those are usually the model inmates, because they're saying, hey man, I live here. I'm going to grow here. I'm going to die here. So I want my time here to be as cool and smooth as possible. I want to get the benefit out of it. So therefore, you really want to do it for those types of people. You know what I'm saying? So everybody can't get a job because you have different tools. It can be dangerous. But this is what I want to jump to you.
Okay.
Even besides prison labor, how do you feel about the monitoration of convicts? GPS fees. You have certain states now that are big on sentencing people who commit crimes to what they call home detention. Instead of incarcerating you, they put an ankle monitor on you. They know where you're at. They basically incarcerate you in your neighborhood, which is saving the state money because they don't have to feed you. They don't have to pay anybody to watch you. They don't have to provide for your medical needs. But you would have to pay for the GPS monitor. So you're basically paying to be incarcerated. What's your thoughts on that?
Outside of certain circumstances, I don't really like it. I feel like it's much akin to quote unquote financial probation, where you have somebody that just shows up and pays money to basically remain free. So I mean, on its face, to me, it's absurd. I'm basically paying you to lock me up, and if I'm gonna go through all that trouble, like, yo, just go ahead, put me in the cell, let me do my days, whatever. I got my 30, 90 days, whatever. And
brother, I can't, due to different reasons, I can't get as far in depth as you can.
I understand.
You said a mouthful. From my observation while working at the prison, yeah, man, it's financial incarceration. It really is. The benefit, I guess you could say, is that you're not in prison. If anybody ever walked through prison, you don't have to work for it. You'll walk through prison, you know there's no way you want to be. And that's what the proponents of it say. Hey man, you could be in prison. You could be in there, but
well, let me ask you this, because it's kind of my understanding of it, and maybe I'm not completely informed. Basically, with the GPS, you basically have some type of bracelet or tracking device on you, correct?
Yes.
And you're restricted to a certain area, and you can't leave that area, basically.
Yes.
So, am I in some type of halfway house, or am I in my residence?
In your residence.
Okay, so am I able to go to work?
Yeah. Well, you have what you call home detention, where during your residence you can't leave. Mm-hmm. Then you have what you just call like administrative monitoring, which means you have like zones. Like, so I can put on the GPS that from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Andre is allowed to be outside of this inclusion zone. But after 7 p.m., if you're not from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., if you're not in this zone, you're violating the terms and conditions of your supervision, probation, or incarceration, however you want to look at it. I will say this, man. My current job and the director of probation is Mr. Adger, and I can say he's doing a great job, a wonderful job. The reason why is because hearing him speak, what he said was, we have a job to do, and we're going to do our job. But he said a lot of times with things like supervision fees, different fees and stuff you put on some of what we say clients, is that he basically said you're trying to collect money from poor people. And what he's saying is a large part, not that you have all kinds of people, but not that the people are lesser, not that they are more. Basically stating that a large part of the population, they don't have access to the jobs, and because they're criminal record, that a large portion of society does. So he's going back to, like police officers say, community policing. He's going back to community probation. We're here to get people in programs. We're here to get people off of drugs. That's the focus. And I think in the past, I wasn't there, but I want to say that I think probation in South Carolina is doing a great job of focusing on helping people. But I think in the past, just from listening to other people talk, just from listening to the prisoners talk, when I work in the prison, it was, you said it, man, it was financial incarceration. And it seems to me that certain states, not all states, but it's a trend towards, hey man, we can't charge people who don't have it money and then take them back to jail if they don't pay this money. We know they don't have it in the first place. Let's work with people to truly make society better. And that's what we have to do, man. That's what we have to get to.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. And if that's what you guys are doing, it sounds like you guys are doing a great job. Because I really do feel that with the prison system, I really do feel that for especially nonviolent offenders, petty offenders, things like that, it really should be a reformation process where you aren't just put to work for a year, however many years you have. It should be some type of program, some type of rehabilitation, so that when you come back out and go back into society again, you aren't just going back to whatever you were doing that got you there. And the recidivism isn't, you aren't going right back in. And that really sounds amazing.
And like I want to say this, and just hearing Mr. Adger talk, that's what he tells members of state Congress, that even though we might not be collecting fees as much as we were in the past, we're saving the state money because we're stopping the recidivism rate. And that's why I say what he's doing is genius. He's stating that, and everything I'm saying is public knowledge. If you just go and type probation parole in South Carolina, supposed to get cars, they're getting new technology, they're getting a bunch of new things. And what he's saying is, I'm saving the state money by keeping people out of prison. Yeah. Therefore, I'm not going to focus on necessarily collecting fees. I'm going to focus on giving these people jobs, career opportunities, mental health counseling that can keep them from going back to prison. And it's like $28,000 a year to incarcerate an inmate. So I'm saving you if I keep 1,000 people out of prison, I'm saving you $250,000.
Hold on, how much you said it was?
I think it's like 20,000. It might be a little more actually, but I think it's like 20,000 incarcerate inmate. Inmate.
You know that roughly speaking, I want to say the individual income in the U.S. is about $33,000, give or take. So per individual, average income wage is about $33,000. So it costs as much as a person makes in a year to detain them, and the state gets no taxes back from that.
And then that's maybe why they say we need labor for. You know what I'm saying? But hey, you know what? We're gonna end this video, man. This was dynamic topic. We're going to touch on this again.
Oh no, definitely.
The more we talk about it, the more interesting again. But look at the bottom of the page before we post it. Either me or Dre, we'll get the
we definitely have links in there.
Yeah, to the money calls. But hey, man, it's work to be done as a society. There's work to be done. This video started by prison labor. We kind of dove into just the ins and outs of convicts, the life and the rights and the freedoms of convicts, period. But prisoners and convicts, man, they're people. I think in essence that's what we're getting at. They're still people, man. They still have rights. And let's not forget about them because they're still Americans.
Oh, no, most definitely. I think that to end off, we should always keep in mind that at least speaking in a certain sense, it's not how we treat the highest among us, but how we treat the least.
That's true.
But that's a topic for another day, and we'll wrap this up. I'm your host, Dre.
And I'm your boy, Jay.
Good night.
Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me.